The date is Friday, March 27. This is the news on PBCJ. I am Simone Absalom. As of 1300 GMT Friday morning, there is a total number of 552,589 cases of COVID-19 infections across the world. A total of 25,042 persons have lost their lives to the pandemic. In the meantime, 128,704 persons have recovered from the illness and have been discharged. There is a need for the state to be able to identify all citizens, especially in times of crisis such as the one the country now faces. That's the word from Prime Minister Andrew Holness. He is calling on businesses operating on the margins of the formal economy to get registered in order to be able to access assistance from the government when they are facing economic challenges.
I have to emphasize this. Systems that will ensure that genuine people who need it get it. And these systems will come under scrutiny. They may not be scrutinized today, but after we have passed the crisis, they will be scrutinized, and there will be complaints as to why the government did not put in place systems to manage the payment of taxpayers' resources. So the government is protecting against that. We're not putting up a barrier for you to access, but it is important that you know that this is not a giveaway and that we require you to establish yourself, to establish your identity and your bona fides for us to be able to take up taxpayers' money and transfer it to you.
He noted that some people and entities, such as those in the entertainment and public transportation sector, may not be able to access the assistance programs being rolled out by the government.
This is the real test of the society now. Are we able, in a time of crisis, to identify everyone? And the answer is obviously no, we don't. We have a large informal system, particularly that covers the bars and the people who work in the bars, the taximen. It's largely informal. Will the benefits that we are proposing here, will it actually get to them? It's very difficult to say. If they become formalized during the process, as the Minister of Finance said, we are opening the door if they become formalized. But if they are not, it is going to be very difficult to take up taxpayers' resources, which are formally placed in the system, and prioritize those who are not formally in the system versus those who have taken the time to register. And those who have taken the time to register, we know them. So there is a system already in place to deliver the benefit. So I think this is now opening up the conversation. Why should we hide from the government? You should not hide from the government, because in a time of crisis, you will need to have the government's support. So now is the time for everyone to become formal. The government is not your enemy. You know, this is not Babylon. We are here to help, and we want to know every single Jamaican.
Prime Minister Holness was speaking on Thursday on a digital town hall meeting on measures being implemented to assist workers and small businesses. Jamaica's second highest foreign exchange earner, Remittances, is already suffering owing to the devastating effects of COVID-19 on jurisdictions overseas with small diaspora communities. Remittances pulled in $2.4 billion for the calendar year January to December 2019. But signs of a downward trajectory have already emerged, with at least 2 local remittance companies reporting declines in inflows that have been triggered by lockdown and job losses in key markets from which remittances flow. General Manager for Jamaica National Money Services, Horace Hines, says the company has already experienced an estimated 25% reduction over the last week and a half as restrictions took effect in New York, the Cayman Islands, and the United Kingdom. Meanwhile, Group Chief Executive Officer of Grace Kennedy, Don Webby, said that the company's remittance services inbound transaction count has dipped by between 5 and 10%. However, he said the company's digital transactions had increased by close to 20%. Yesterday, Bank of Jamaica Governor Richard Biles indicated that the Jamaican economy was expected to suffer a huge hit by COVID-19, contracting by about 3% for the year. Governor General Sir Patrick Allen is urging the country to remain calm in the face of COVID-19 pandemic, which has claimed more than 24,000 lives globally. He made the televised address to the nation on Thursday.
My fellow Jamaicans, do not panic and despair if your family or community members show symptoms of the COVID-19 virus. Please follow the guidelines that the government has issued and get medical help for them immediately. Be positive at all times and report instances of hoarding or price gouging.
The Governor General thanked the government, the frontline healthcare and security workers and others for their response in containing the crisis.
I thank the Most Honourable Prime Minister and the Minister of Health and Wellness and their team for the leadership and management of this crisis so far. Their swift response contained the rapid spread of the disease in Jamaica. I want to thank our doctors, nurses, ancillary staff, pharmacists, respiratory therapists, ambulance drivers, X-ray technicians, volunteers, and everyone in the healthcare system. You are on the forefront daily to take care of our sick. May you and your family be protected from this deadly virus. I thank members of the private sector and individuals who have pledged to help the government combat this crisis and provide the necessary support. We thank the Cuban government for the cadre of healthcare professionals who have come to assist us in our moment of need. We thank the members of the security forces who selflessly work on the front lines every day to ensure the safety of our citizens. I commend our teachers who are conducting classes via the various information and communication technology platforms. Your commitment is greatly appreciated.
He urged the country to follow the directives given by the government in this time of crisis.
It is critically important that everyone listens to the updates from the Most Honourable Prime Minister and the Minister of Health and Wellness and their team. The directives given are to be followed by everyone. We have to adjust our lives to save ourselves from being infected by this deadly virus and infecting others. Our history has shown that when we come together as one, we achieve great results. Let's do it again. Now more than ever, we must mean all of us. I join the government in asking everyone to take the necessary precautions in your personal hygiene. Please demonstrate at all times respect for the orders, especially those which apply to gatherings. Stay healthy, stay safe, stay home to stop the spread of the virus. Families now have the opportunity to spend more time together and forge closer bonds.
There were recent reports circulating on social media that Prime Minister Andrew Holness was soon to shut down the country in response to the COVID-19 crisis. Mr. Holness addressed the issue Thursday at a digital town hall meeting focused on workers and small businesses.
I know, because I pay close attention to all forms of media, that there is a growing sense of panic. I think people are now resigned to the expectation that there will be a lockdown. And I have given some form of notice to get prepared. But as I said before, we cannot go into panic mode. Lockdown is not something that you do without fully calculating what the economic costs are.
The Prime Minister conceded that if a lockdown were to occur, it would be done in such a way as to mitigate undue economic loss.
If we put in place measures that are appropriate to the stage of the epidemic, and those measures are managed, they are smart, they will keep us on a lower trajectory of increase. And I believe that that is what we have managed to accomplish.
Last week, the government took the decision to close ports of entry to passengers to curb the influx of the virus into the island. The island's ports, however, remain open to receive much-needed cargo. And the House of Representatives has passed a resolution for price gouging to be classified as a criminal offense during the period that a disaster area is declared in Jamaica. The resolution that was tabled Wednesday by State Minister for Industry Floyd Green will take effect on March 31.
Mr. Speaker, when we looked at the Consumer Protection Act, we recognized that although it spoke of misleading, deceptive, and unfair practices, it never specifically mentioned price gouging. And as such, Mr. Speaker, we thought that we had to act to protect our consumers, and especially to protect the most vulnerable. Mr. Speaker, the people who suffer most when these prices are raised to unconscionable levels are the most vulnerable in our society. The effect is that no person whose business includes the retail sale of goods shall sell any necessary goods to another person at a price higher than the price charged immediately before the coming into force of the disaster risk management order. Again, these prices would have already been priced with profit margins in those prices. And as such, for the disaster area order and the time period, we are saying that the retailers have to maintain those prices.
This follows complaints that some supermarkets and pharmacies have hiked the price for antibacterial and sanitizing products in the wake of the coronavirus. A new survey has confirmed that price gouging is happening as Jamaica grapples with the effects of the coronavirus.
Between the 9th and the 13th day of March, Mr. Speaker, our Consumer Affairs Commission went and visited 43 outlets, looking especially at sanitization products for which we were getting a myriad of complaints. The Consumer Affairs Commission, Mr. Speaker, visited outlets in Kingston, St. Andrew, St. Elizabeth, St. Anne, Manchester, and St. Mary. And what we found, Mr. Speaker, is that there was, in fact, unexplained rises in prices across a number of these items. In fact, we found on average that there was a 14% rise in sanitizers, hand sanitizers. And we found, Mr. Speaker, that there was an 85% rise in aerosol disinfectant sprays. In fact, Mr. Speaker, we have been getting some reports, and in one case, we got a report out of St. Anne where the aerosol spray that was normally sold for $850 being retail was being sold for $1,641, Mr. Speaker.
Jamaica's ambassador to the United States, Audrey Marks, is pleading with all Jamaicans who are currently on seasonal work programs in the U.S. to stay on their assigned properties. She says, though the properties are not currently operational, an agreement has been reached with employers to secure accommodation for all workers during this time. In a Facebook post on Thursday, the ambassador said, quote, "To all Jamaicans in the United States, workers and members of the diaspora, Jamaica is now under an emergency order. The airports are closed and no incoming passengers will be allowed before April 7th. End quote. Ms. Marks said that on Wednesday, they were faced with the task of transporting and finding accommodation for over 200 persons who showed up at various airports trying to connect to Jamaica. She called on Jamaicans at home who have family members in the U.S. to discourage them from attempting to travel at this time. The ambassador said, quote, "I never thought I would see the day when I am pleading with Jamaicans to stay in the U.S. But folks, COVID-19 is really a serious matter." End quote. In the meantime, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs says arrangements are being made to accommodate Jamaican hotel workers who are stranded overseas due to closure of the Jamaican air and seaports. In a statement Thursday afternoon, the ministry said for persons who do not have family or friends in Atlanta, it made arrangements with airlines to reroute them to other cities at no cost to them. The ministry said it also secured agreement with some employers to either rehire the Jamaicans or secure accommodations for them. Prime Minister Andrew Holness has warned against what he calls the continued weak fence behaviours by some Jamaicans, which put the entire population at risk by continuing to flout COVID-19 restriction orders issued under law, and has said if it becomes necessary, the country will be put on lockdown to stem the spread of the infectious disease.
No matter what the government does, no matter how many orders we pass, no matter how much enforcement we do, if you resist and say, I don't care, and I feel sick and still go to work, still take the taxi, if you know that you came into Jamaica from a country with community spread, and you still feel that you have to go to the supermarket and go and check your friend and go and look for your girlfriend, and you know that you could be exposed and you don't stay in the 14 days quarantine, then you are placing the entire population at risk, and that upsurge could be what happens to us.
Mr. Holness says the confirmed cases of the virus in the island shows that the numbers are rising on a fairly flat trajectory compared to some other countries, stressing that what the government does not want are sharp spikes that could overwhelm the public health system. He says many factors could cause the numbers to increase, but it essentially comes down to a resistance to behavioral change.
Now, I understand the Jamaican psyche. There are many people who will say, sure, I go through worse than this. Nothing can happen to me. Sure, it's God time. Sure, me can't bother. Well, if it were the case that it would only affect you, then as we say, it would be bad and not so bad. But the truth is, it affects everyone. So your weak fence behavior will cause your grandmother and your neighbor and the people in your workplace to be ill. So we have to change behavior.
He noted the profile of the outbreak in China. He said new cases started to rise rapidly in January, and even with a lockdown in that same month, the virus spread did not peak until a month later. Prime Minister Andrew Holness was speaking Thursday at a digital town hall meeting on measures being implemented to assist workers and small businesses. Effective March 30, pensioners will be allowed to encash their 2 fortnightly National Insurance Scheme checks at the same time for April. So instead of you having to go out every fortnight, you're now going to go out one time because you can cash all the payments for the month of April at once. Minister of State for Labour and Social Security Xavier Main gave that advisory while speaking at a digital town hall meeting for senior citizens on Wednesday.
It is difficult for us at this time to say that we are going to increase the NIS benefits having regards to the factors that would have gone into the determination of what that payment is. But what we can say is that for persons who receive payments by way of the payment voucher effective March 30th. All payments for the month of April can be encashed at once. Ordinarily, the payments are accessible on a fortnightly basis. What we are saying is that for the month of April, the entire payment that is due for that month, you're able to access it as of March 30th.
This is being waived for the next 2 to 3 months or for as long as the pandemic lasts. The Caribbean Examination Council CXC has proposed that this year's May-June examinations be pushed back to July and a change is made to the system of grading candidates as regional countries grapple with the COVID-19 crisis. CXC is also planning to use e-testing for CSEC and CAPE exams. At least one common paper, multiple choice assessments, will be administered as well as school-based assessments and paper 032s, which is a SBA alternate for private candidates, and award final grades will be awarded based on the moderate SBAs and multiple choice papers. Students of modern languages like Spanish, French, and Portuguese, as well as human and social biology and visual arts, will be required to complete additional components. The regional examination body said its proposals will be guided by the national protocols across the region. Nuttall Memorial Hospital says it would no longer be accepting persons who are displaying symptoms of COVID-19. The measure takes immediate effect this week. Chief Executive Officer Harvey Levers said the Nuttall Hospital was not adequately equipped or staffed to care for persons who have contracted the novel coronavirus, which has infected more than 500,000 people worldwide. The symptoms include fever, coughing, runny nose, cold, and shortness of breath. Persons with recent travel history or contact with visitors on or after March 9, the day before the first Jamaican tested positive, are also requested to stay away. Levers said, quote, anyone who meets any of the above criteria should immediately telephone the Ministry of Health via the published telephone numbers, which are 888-663-5683 or 888-754-7792 or 876-542-6007 or 876-542-6006. The US dollar is being traded at $135.92, up by 27 cents. That's according to the Bank of Jamaica's daily exchange trading summary. The Canadian dollar is being traded at $96.41, up from $94.43, while the British pound sterling is being traded at $163.95, up from $162.30. In regional news, Venezuela reported its first corona death on Thursday after a 47-year-old man with a pre-existing lung disease died. The patient had been admitted to a private clinic suffering from pneumonia and 3 days later tested positive for COVID-19. The South American country has now reported 107 coronavirus cases. It is under a total lockdown with businesses and schools closed and its borders closed to commercial flights, although cargo arrivals are still allowed. In Montserrat, a 10-hour curfew has been instituted and a closure of its borders effective immediately after recording 2 cases of COVID-19. The curfew will be from 7 p.m. to 5 a.m. The government has also said all non-essential businesses will be closed for 14 days. There will also be no public gatherings of more than 4 people, and funerals can be held with a maximum of 15 people in attendance. The National COVID-19 Task Force in Guyana is expressing concern about the Cavalier attitude of some Guyanese towards COVID-19. Neola Damon of InfoHub reports.
While Guyanese are being applauded for heeding public advisories to adjust social behavior in combating the spread of COVID-19, the National COVID-19 Task Force, NCTF, remains seriously concerned that too many citizens and businesses have been ignoring these very warnings. Via media release, the task force said in spite of public advisories and warnings, persons and some businesses have been going about their daily activities as per normal and operating in a business-as-usual manner. The NCTF warns that such a cavalier approach by some citizens can seriously impair the efforts to contain the spread of COVID-19 and have a devastating impact on the Guyanese populace. The task force said it will be both monitoring the conduct of the citizenry and considering various measures. These include extreme measures which have been instituted in other countries to impose restrictions on the movement of persons for a defined period until the threat is abated. In an update on Wednesday, Prime Minister Honorable Moses Nagamutu, who is chairman of the National COVID-19 Task Force, hosted multiple virtual planning meetings to continue the coordination of the works of the task force as Guyana intensifies efforts to combat the spread of COVID-19. His Excellency President David Granger and ministers of government were on Tuesday updated on the work of the NCTF. several measures were also proposed and discussed. Additionally, a menu of physical measures was approved, and the Minister of Finance, Honorable Winston Jordan, who has given the Guyana Revenue Authority the task of making the requisite public announcements. Prime Minister Nagamutu also commended Minister of Public Health, Honorable Valdo Lawrence, and the Health Emergency Operations Center, HEOC, for the work they have done to date in containing the spread of COVID-19. Neola Damon, InfoHub.
Over in Barbados, Prime Minister Mottley is to take a break from government to undergo a medical procedure. Ms. Mottley made the disclosure in a national broadcast on Thursday night.
I have a medical procedure that the doctors have advised that I should do as this weekend. I'm going to take the opportunity to do it. While I am doing that procedure, the Honourable Santia Bradshaw will act as Prime Minister, and indeed the COVID-19 team will remain with the Honourable Attorney General Dale Marshall, dealing with the governance and the law enforcement aspects of it, the Honourable Jeffrey Bostick continuing to chair the Emergency Operations Committee, and the Honourable Jerome Walcott continuing to marshal, as he has done brilliantly, the regional and international relations, particularly with the management of our supply and logistics chain, such that we can continue to keep Barbadians completely safe and completely provided for. I know I will be well, but I know that some of you may want to be concerned. Please don't be. All will be well, but what I will not brook is not telling you the truth and not having persons spread rumors about it across the country.
To date, Barbados has reported 24 cases of the COVID-19 virus. The imposition of nightly curfews was one of the measures announced by the Prime Minister to stem the viral spread.
I am announcing formally tonight that as of Saturday, the 28th of March, at 8 p.m., we will be asking all Barbadians who are not part of the essential services to desist from traveling around from 8 p.m. at night to 6 a.m. in the morning every day until the 14th of April. To be absolutely clear, the first day when 24-hour movement will be allowed for all persons again, unless further extended, will be Wednesday, the 15th of April.
In sports, we're on the courts with netball as several of our Sunshine girls, such as overseas-based netballer Rebecca Robinson, report that she and national teammate Latanya Wilson are doing well despite being in the proximity of persons with COVID-19. The pair, who play for the Celtic Dragons in the Vitality Super League in England, are living in an apartment complex in Cardiff, Wales, where persons have tested positive for the virus. Robinson says that they're doing well and they're doing all they can to protect themselves. In a Gleaner interview, they say that they have been told to avoid certain areas of the building. She said, quote, "In the building that we're living in, there are 2 persons that have the virus, but we are not scared of catching it," end quote. And that's the news on PBCJ. Thanks so much for watching, and do remember to keep safe.